Angie Martinez in Real Life podcast.
I have facts here on the card. I never start my show with a card, but I'm starting the show with a card today, guys. Okay, my guest today, the most decorated female skier of all time, 82 World Cup wins, 20 World Cup titles, 3 Olympic gold medals. Tell me, Lindsay, if any of this is wrong.
A little wrong.
I'm wrong? Correct me as I go. Be like my hype girl. Tell me they're correct. 20 World Cup titles.
3 Olympic medals. Yeah, you got the 20 titles.
3 Olympic medals.
Not all of them are gold. I mean, like, we could fudge that, but you can say it. I didn't say it.
Okay.
And someone broke my record, but I'm still the greatest downhiller of all time.
Okay.
So we can, like, we can maneuver that. But you're relatively close.
No, I like the 7 World Championship medals.
I think it's 8.
Talk that shit, Lindsay.
Yeah, I think it's 8.
Author, philanthropist, and overall badass. Lindsey Vonn is here today. Woo! I mean, come on.
Thank you.
Hi, Lindsay. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy you asked me.
Thank you. Yeah, I DM'd Lindsay and I said, hey, you want to be on our podcast?
You slid into my DMs.
I slid into her DMs.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was
hey,
very
boo.
honored.
Hey, boo. Would you consider being on my podcast? She was like, I'd love to.
I'm like, consider, I'm in.
Yeah, I love that. So our first meeting, do you remember when we first met?
Yeah.
Was it PR's birthday or was it Mav's?
PR's
it was
birthday.
PR, who works with Spring Hill. So all the Spring Hill guys were there. Rich Paul, Mav, who works with LeBron. And Lindsay and I were at this long dinner table, and we sat across from each other. And I have to be honest, I didn't
know who you were either.
I didn't know who you
were.
were.
Hit it off. We just talked for like hours.
We
great.
didn't know who each other were. We just, on a human level, just started chatting. And then it was years ago, so I was probably fresh off of like car accident. I was still not moving well, and we started talking about injury. Yeah. Told you I had broke my back, and then you got into, I broke my this, and I broke my that, and I broke my that. And then so now we're across the table talking about our injuries. And I was like, because I was in a car accident. So how'd you get your injuries? And he was like, I'm a skier. I was like, oh, you're a skier? And as I say that, Mav walks by and he goes, and she's the greatest skier of all time. I was like, oh my God. And then I became obsessed with you and then watched your documentary, which was beautiful.
Very sweet of you, thank you.
And I kind of watched a lot of your falls and spills. I could hardly watch them. Can't really bear it.
It's okay, I watch them, so you should be able to watch them.
But let's start there. Let's start with your ability to, the injuries, right? So I'm thinking, I'm talking to like a person, we've had similar, which is not the case.
No, it's true. Honestly, probably car accident's worse than
because there's trauma. Well, there's trauma in that, but I would imagine there's trauma in your spills, no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually a little bit weird in that way. I don't carry the trauma. I've actually talked to my therapist, and he's like, okay, let's break down the trauma. I'm like, I actually don't
have any trauma.
I just feel like, it happened, I'm injured, like I have to find a way through it. There's no point in going back and holding on to whatever it is that happened. And I always just look forward, and that's just, and it's easier said than done.
No, it's fascinating.
But it's just how my mind works.
Yeah, but did you have to learn that, or was that always like that?
I think it honestly just comes from perspective from my mom. She had a stroke when she had me, and she was a bit disabled from, she had problems with her ankle, so she couldn't run, she couldn't ski with me, she couldn't bike, she had really a lot of trouble with her balance. But it was something that no matter what she did, she could never overcome it. And so I had this perspective of, okay, I'm out here doing what I love to do. I got hurt. I can be fixed. I just have surgery, I have to do the work, and I'll be back on the mountain. So it wasn't...
It's not like my mom who can't.
Right. So
overcome.
That was always my perspective. I was lucky to have the opportunity to come back. So.
Yeah, that's pretty great. And it's inspiring to me so deeply because I had so much trauma, and then I'm at a point that's been like 4 years, and actually the trauma I think made me better. It made me like roll out projects like this, and it made me slow down my life and all types of stuff. But I realize now, just now, 4 years later, that I'm holding on to the trauma a little bit too much. And I see somebody like you, and I'm watching footage of you like rolling down a hill at 80 after skiing 80 miles an hour, and then you're like getting up and like, okay, fix my knee because I got to get back out there, which is insane.
I am a little insane, as it is true, but I just think, I think about it logically, and what's the point of hanging on to it? It's only hurting me. Like, I need to learn, have perspective from what happened, and how can I be better going forward. And I have always felt that all of my injuries have given me, life lessons. I've become a better person, a stronger person mentally. I just learned so much about myself. And it's hard to like make something positive out of something that's so traumatic and negative. You know, if you look at all the things that you've done since your car crash, you know, it's changed,
For
you know,
sure.
you know, it's given you a different level of drive, and that's really positive.
Yeah. No, it's totally positive. I just think, I don't know, there's still a lot of fear. Like sometimes I'm driving, I have like a little flashback, or
Well, that's normal.
sometimes I just had these shots done. Shout out to Dr. Abi, by the way. He gave me these, I tried these like plasma injections.
PRP?
No, not PRP is a new thing that he does them in Miami. It's placenta. It's placenta injections.
So stem cell, but placenta.
Into the scar tissue. It breaks up the scar tissue, gets mobility and all of that. And I was so like irritable from just the little numbing shots. And he was like, it's not that painful. I'm like, I know it's not that painful. I'm just freaking out.
Yeah.
He's like,
You're
because
tense
I'm
and
at
you're
your ground
holding it.
zero. And so it's all trauma. And his
Yeah.
wife was there who does breath work. So she's helping me breathe through it. And I'm laying there in the doctor's office. And then she's like, you gotta breathe through it. And I'm like, this is stupid. It's been 4 years. Like, this is me talking to myself.
Yeah.
Get over it already. You know, it's like,
But I think it's also important to like acknowledge your feelings, you know, like
and then get over it.
Well,
at some point.
At some point. I mean, I think it's a process,
Yeah.
you know, and everyone, like I process certain things differently than others, and skiing and crashing is just something that I have a weird way of processing, but it's important to acknowledge the feelings, and I think sometimes we try to push them away, and that actually makes it worse because we're not acknowledging it. I think we have to acknowledge it, process it, and then we can move forward. I just do that really quickly in skiing.
Fascinating to me. I think there's so much to learn in that. But have you had to deal with it in other parts too, or is it just skiing? Like, have you had any other?
I mean, I've had 3 surgeries since I've retired from skiing.
So you have to recover from those alone.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lifelong process, to be honest. I have a plate and 18 screws in my arm, and it's always there. I play tennis all the time, and it hurts me and it zings me, and you know, it's just like and it's never gonna go away. It's always a reminder. And my knees, like they hurt like hell every morning that I wake up. But I also at the same time, like I don't regret it. I don't regret any decision that I made in my skiing career. I wouldn't change it for the world. So I try to think about it as like, hey, I accomplished a lot, and this is just a reminder of what I did. In a good way.
You are so positive.
Honestly,
does it ever fail you though?
It does. Like skiing is kind of like in my body. It's kind of my superpower, and then like emotions are not my superpower. So
really,
yeah, it's like skiing was always kind of I put on my Superman, you know, costume, and it was like my alter ego. And then in real life, I was never quite as confident. So I don't know. It's like my alter ego, I guess.
Yeah, I see that. I always think that like. We've had a couple of great athletes on the pod. We had Derek Jeter, Mike Tyson. And I always think there's something about extraordinary athletes that you have to have some sort of critical moments and then to perform at your best. Because a lot of us would get, like in those critical moments, we get scared the most. That's when we are the most like, oh God, it's the big moment. I'm so nervous. Like you get
I live
all
for
of
those moments.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You have that too. You have that. You live for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I always go back to Billie Jean King, like pressure is a privilege. And I look at it as such an amazing opportunity. And of course, when I was younger, you know, I did get really nervous and I had to figure out a way, you know, to deal with it. But once I like figured it out and I harnessed it and I used it to my advantage, like I used those emotions to propel me down the mountain. It's so empowering once you do get it, because it is an opportunity, you know, and if you fuck it up, you fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know, that's life. But I like going in just full steam ahead. You know, I'm prepared. I'm driven. I'm going to try my best at this. If I fail, flat out my face, which I've done many times in not just skiing. But that's, you know, that's life. I learn and I move forward.
How did you figure it? Like, what did you figure out? What is the thing? Like, was there something you learned to tell yourself? What is the conversation in your head that gets you from?
Never be afraid to fail. Because whenever I was afraid to fall or afraid not to succeed, I was done.
It's over.
Forget it. I might as well not even have started the race. Like you have to be willing to put yourself out there, which you know, again, like no one wants to be disappointed. No one wants to let yourself down or other people down, my parents down, my family down. Once you can move past that and say, you know, who cares? I'm gonna try my best. If I fail trying my best, there's nothing more I could have done. You know what I mean? So I think
there's a piece in that almost a
yeah,
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to be okay with, you know, giving your best and never having regrets. Regrets are again another piece of the puzzle that will eat you alive.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So you just tell yourself,
Fuck it.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Who cares?
I'm gonna try my best. If I fall on my face at 80 miles an hour, literally.
Yeah. I in front of the whole world. I actually talked a lot with The Rock, with DJ about it as well. We're on the same page in that sense. You know, never be afraid to fail. Like always putting yourself out there, and it's a hard thing to actually do. You know, it's easy to say, but it's sometimes really hard to do. So.
I know you were friends with The Rock too.
Yeah.
Has he ever given you, because he seems like a great advice giver.
He literally is the hardest working person I've ever met. Like, I don't know if he sleeps. I think he's like Dracula. And he's like, you know, it's like, he feeds off his cheat day pancakes and whatever else.
That's all he's got.
Well, I mean, I'm like, how do you eat that many pancakes? Anyways, I do think like his drive like is so inspiring to me, and just how he never falters from being himself. He is what he appears to be, the nicest fucking person ever, and the hardest working person ever. And I think, you know, similar to me, he needs to find some balance, as do I. And I think his daughter's like, he's such a great girl dad as well. But I don't know, it's like, we just gotta lift each other up and keep working hard. And it's not one thing, it's everything.
Yeah. I love that you're inspired by people's drive too.
I mean, well, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. And then I'm like, he's working harder. I can do this. He hasn't slept. He's working out at 3 a.m. I don't know if I can do that, but I can work harder.
It inspires you.
It inspires me.
Talk to me about that, like that fearlessness and just fear. And do you have any fear, like when you would go out there? Or
No.
No fear. How? I know you say you do your best and you go, but
So first of all, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I love going fast. Like
so you
I love
enjoy
being
the
extreme.
fear? Do you like the fear, or there just is no fear?
There's no fear. It's not. I like the butterflies. Like when I was a kid, I used to climb all the trees, like all the highest trees. I never was worried about falling, or you know. And when I started skiing, I just always want to be fast, like faster than my grandparents, faster than my parents. You know, every time I was on the mountain, I just want to go fast, fast, fast. So that part of me is definitely unique, and I think that's why that made me a good downhiller, because I was never afraid. And when the course was challenging or the weather was challenging, I actually really enjoyed, you know, watching other skiers' faces, because they would get nervous or scared, and
you're like,
I was thinking to myself,
I got him.
I'm gonna use this to my advantage.
That's crazy.
But I think,
Are you aware though how unique and like?
I know it's weird. Yeah, it's different.
Has that showed up for you? Are you able to implement that into other parts of your life? Like because you know, there's fear in like a first date, or there's fear in like, I don't know, speaking publicly, or,
Yeah.
you know.
I think it's helped me a lot in like public speaking. Like I'm much better when I just wing it. You know, if I'm prepared, then it's like I have to do something that.
And there's fear there?
I wouldn't
I'm
say
just trying to think if fear shows up in anywhere in your life.
I mean, fear shows up like if I get a speeding ticket, you know. I've lost my license once before, so.
I'm not surprised, by the way. Totally not surprised. You're like,
no.
But that's not fear, that's like shit.
I know. It's definitely, it's a different emotion.
It's different.
Yeah. But no, I think I do my best when I don't stress about the outcome, whatever that is.
So it's an
Public speaking.
overall thing. It's not just
kind of
in
overall.
sports. Right?
And I will say I probably should have been like more skeptical at some points in my life, where I was just too open and accepting, and like it's not necessarily fear, but it's trust also. You know, I'm like my mother, I'm very trusting.
In what?
In just like relationships, or you know, not even necessarily romantic ones, but just in people in general. And I've definitely learned how to be more reserved, because you have only so much energy, and you can't give it out to everybody.
Right now.
And that's something I've had to learn, because I am fearless in that way. Like I don't know, I take everyone for face value, and I
Wow.
sometimes maybe you shouldn't. Whoops.
Well, that's usually a thing that happens to women. Is like if you have a bad relationship and then like you don't trust men again for the next however many years, or you know, but you don't seem to do that. That's again to your you probably should, but you don't. But no,
I'm
but
like
also
a hopeless romantic. You know?
you should, but then also sometimes it could ruin a relationship because you're taking your old stuff and putting it into something new, and then how I don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Are you a hopeless romantic? Did you say that?
I am. You know. But I do realize that, things don't always work out the way you think they will.
But you get back up.
You get back up.
in true Lindsey Vonn fashion.
Keep on fighting the good fight.
You were actually married really young.
I did.
Married and divorced young. Like, what does that do to you?
We all make mistakes.
No, but what does that do to you? What do you learn from that? Like,
I mean, I was married at 22. I don't know what you know at 22, but
why did you even think you should get married at 22?
I can't even tell you. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it was a hard time in my life. My parents were divorced, and I had been living on my own since I was 15, traveling on the World Cup.
You were looking for somebody to do it with.
I thought this is what I'm supposed to do, and then it definitely wasn't. And I had to course correct and figure it out, and it was hard, I think, for me because at a young age, I was very successful at that age, and I had never really been in control of my money, and I wish I had been, so I had to learn the hard way. But that's one thing that I really try to teach also in with my foundation, just financial independence. Having women having control over their own bank accounts and having
Did you not have that at the beginning? You didn't have control of your stuff? No. Wow.
We all make mistakes. Yeah, I just, I was so young, I didn't know, who's going to manage my money and how does that work. And I, was so focused on my skiing, and it just was, I had to rely on someone. And that's what happened.
What is the big lesson, though, for you? Like, how do you operate differently then?
I think in general, managing your own money, first of all, no matter what happens, if I get married, if I don't get married, I always need mine, and I think that's true for all women, it just gives you a level of freedom. No matter what you're facing in your life, you always have that's yours.
It's funny you talk about money and stuff, because I think I've heard you say skiing it's not necessarily a big financial win, but I think women in sports in general.
Yeah, women in sports in general, it's very hard to make money unless you play tennis.
And then when you think about how much time, effort, magic, skill that you have to have, and then to not be financially compensated for that.
It's hard. I mean, I think, ski racing is a great sport. If you look at the Olympics, it's one of the most popular in the Winter Olympics, but in general, most people only know about skiing every 4 years. So, how do you make that? What do you do in the 4 years, the 3 years in between, and how do you make money? So on the World Cup, if you won a race, it was 30,000 Swiss francs, which then got converted into euros or whatever. Before the euro, it was whatever, Austrian shillings or German marks, whatever. And then it's converted into US dollars, and then you tax on it. So at the end of the day,
then you're supposed to survive on that.
Really getting nothing. So, and that's what my father always told me, and I will give him a lot of credit for that, is that, I have to be more than an athlete because there's no money in it. You have to earn it. You have to go and be more. And, it was like Peekaboo Street was my idol, and she had this big deal with an athletic company, and it was the first of its kind. But besides that, there was really no endorsement deals we had for women.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I did in my career was talk to the guys, and if there's no transparency, how am I supposed to know if I'm getting underpaid compared to a man or not? So I asked them point blank, and some of the top male racers actually told me what they were making.
And you were like, oh.
And I was like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
I'm not in the same ballpark, and I need to fix that. So I literally went and I was like, this is what I need, and this is what you're going to give me, and I know what the guys make, so don't even try. And
wow.
I got it.
Wow. And who do you have to go to ask that? Is it the brands, or is it the actual...
To find out what they made?
No, like to get more money. Like,
I had to go straight to the brand. Yeah.
Oh,
when I
got it.
renegotiated when any of my contracts were up.
Yep. Oh, I get
said,
it. But
this
like
is
for a
what-
young skier who maybe she doesn't have brand.
Unfortunately, in skiing, like you're not going to get anything until you're in the top 20 in the world
Wow.
to make any money whatsoever.
And so you have to absolutely love it.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I know so many of my friends that I grew up with that have metal in almost every limb of their body, and the only reason why they kept going was because they loved it. I mean, you have to at that point. You don't subject yourself to those kinds of
this
injuries.
abuse, because this doesn't sound fun to me at all, guys. By the way, this life is not a good. Like, first of all, it's not even just the injuries alone, whatever you got going on in the screws and the bolts and but you also it's the discipline of having to be able to compete at that level. You're working out however many hours a day, and none of that sounds fun to me. That doesn't sound like a good time. But you love it.
I love it.
You're like, yes, yeah. I love this.
I think to each his own. I think a lot of people would think, speaking in front of people or being on a radio show or whatever, that is
torturous.
That would seem,
no, it's
not
nothing
torturous, but difficult, and that they wouldn't want to do it,
and
they would feel uncomfortable doing it. I can never do what you do, and you can never do what I do, and so that's what makes us, unique. So
yeah.
I don't know. I love. In the beginning, let's face it, I was, a young teenager. I didn't my dad made me run a mile every day.
You weren't into that?
So, and he made me do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups because I had to pass a test to make the U.S. ski team.
Got it.
And trust me, I did not love that. But, as time went on, you realize that the more work I put in, the more I get out of it. And so you end up loving it because it inevitably makes you better. Mm-hmm. So that's how I process in my mind. And I would sit on the bike, for hours, and I would just think about whoever I wanted to beat that season, or, I'm going to be this much faster because I'm spending this much time working out.
I was going to ask you about that. Your keys to being so disciplined, but I guess that's it, right?
Everything you put
think
in
about
always
the
comes
outcome.
out.
Yeah,
I always believe that. I never cut corners. If I like having plans. If my trainer gives me a workout program, I'm gonna do every single thing in that program to the T. I will not cut any corners.
Whine because I'm such a whiner.
No. You are?
Oh God, I'm it hurts. You don't do this. I don't imagine Lindsay in the gym talking about, I don't like it. It hurts. I'm tired. You're not doing any of that.
No, sometimes my trainer would try to cheer me on, and I would be like,
if you don't shut the hell up.
Don't shut up right now. He's like, push it, but do you think I'm not pushing it? So I'm always giving it 110%, and I'm like, if you're cheering for me, that means that you don't think that I'm giving 110%, which means you should stop talking.
And I'm insulted.
I'm insulted that you don't think I'm trying hard enough.
You're probably, because I always say around they won't play, we can't. I play cards and do game nights. He won't play games with me because
really?
he says I'm inappropriate.
Too competitive?
I'm inappropriately competitive. It's too far. It's not fun for everyone.
I'm the same, yeah.
And I gotta imagine that you are a lunatic.
I'm a lunatic, yeah.
Do you do game even on game night? Are you a crazy person?
I choose not to play.
You don't play. You don't even get in it.
It's bad, and I've definitely I'll give myself one chance. If I don't annihilate everybody, and then I won't.
Not
then
just
I won't do it
win,
again.
but annihilate.
Even ping pong, I have a problem. I really want to win.
You really want to win.
I really want to win. Yeah, I've really tried to honestly unprogram that from from who I am, but it's so ingrained. You can ask my siblings.
I was gonna say how do guys because guys are funny with. I remember being on a date back in the day with this guy, and we were playing. He was like, "Let's go play pool," and I was like, "I love pool." We're having drinks. We're playing pool. And then he said something "Yeah, this is not fun for me." And first of all, whatever, get out of here. But also then it made me "Oh, is this
you don't want me to win?" You're not,
I definitely took it that way.
That
but also I was it was the first time anybody was "I don't like that about you."
Yeah, that's not cool.
And so number one, he obviously didn't make it.
Yeah, didn't make the cut.
No, but also too, and then I realized it about myself because I didn't even know that was a thing. So sometimes I'm if we're playing, you, I'll sit it out, or I'll just be that's okay.
Yeah. I'm good. In the corner.
You don't want me in here.
No, you really don't. Yeah.
Because
I said that after the first game. You guys don't want me in. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, it's hard, I think.
But how do guys handle that, like with you? Because if you're beating them at everything,
not usually well.
Yeah.
Unless you're my friend and like you don't care.
No, I mean like romantically on a date or
romantically,
like,
yeah,
or
I was
dating
gonna say,
somebody.
romantically doesn't particularly bode well. I mean, I would say, it's fun to a point. It's like always fun until it's not fun.
Yeah.
And then they don't want you to win
Beat them
anymore.
at everything.
Yeah. Or even if it's not, competitively against each other, even like when I'm successful, there's always, I think sometimes there's this like competition, between each other, and that should never happen. It should always be, I'm happy for you and you're happy for me, and we both want to, be better and more successful in our careers and lives, and it doesn't always work out that way.
No, you need a very confident man in some way. Like he has to be good at something.
Yes.
Killing whatever he's doing. Because just the killer, it's that.
I think it's the insecurity part. Like you have to be secure in who you are, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. And I definitely think that, I was pretty insecure, at a lot of points in my life.
When and how and why?
I mean, yeah, I've been traveling the world without parental supervision since I was like 9.
Wow.
So, like I definitely felt there was insecurities.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
I like think about it now. You send your kid on an airplane to go to Austria
At 9.
at 9. I don't know. Definitely not these days. But, I think it made me independent. But I also, I think I lacked certain like social cues and, like in relationships, I don't think that was always easy. Like all I knew was competition. And
Oh, I get that.
yeah.
Yeah. So when did that switch for you? How did you become aware? And then what did you have to do?
I think I learned over time through trial and error, which is honestly how I learned a lot about my life, is just trying, like being not afraid to fail, just trying things and, okay, this didn't work. Why did this not work? And also figuring out like, who am I outside of skiing? Because you're not what you do. And that was hard for me to figure out. And honestly, like, I think in the last 2 years, I've finally really like wholeheartedly figured out who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with skiing. Even though it's what I love to do, that's not who I am.
I was gonna ask you about that because even when you're watching your doc and it's like about your final season, it's like your whole life, you since you're 9.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is my purpose, to be great, the best skier in the world. And then all of a sudden, you're not that anymore. Then after
So
my
what am
whole
I?
life, so what am I? Who am I? And what is my purpose?
Yeah. Like, what do I bring to the world?
This is probably pretty, like for athletes who retire.
That's why you see a lot of athletes having a really hard time. A lot of athletes have gambling problems. They, abuse drugs and alcohol, and it's a really hard place to be in. And also it's because you've always thought yourself to be invincible as well. Like especially in team sports, you have to, like football, for example, like you have to believe that your career is going to last forever. It's kind of a mentality, but then it stops, the checks stop. Like, what do you do? And it's a really hard reality to face. And I knew for me, it was either going to go extremely in one way or the other. So I went extreme, like I went super clean. I like was working out all the time, and definitely too far to that end. But it was kind of a course correction that I had to just figure out, okay, who am I? What's my next move? What do I do? What's my passion? Like, what's my passion in life besides going really fast?
And what did you figure out?
So I figured out, like, through my psychologist that, it's like looking at skiing, what do I love about skiing? I love the feeling of freedom. When I stand at the top of the mountain, I feel like anything is possible. Like, I am in control of my life. So how do I get that? Like, what in life now makes me feel that way? Sometimes it's driving my car. I feel like I'm alone.
Driving really fast, probably. Yeah. Okay.
It's a problem. I just like
control.
Yes, not necessarily control, but the feeling of anything is possible. So when I do things now, it's like that's how I find my passion. It's like when I think about doing something like creating a TV show or a movie, does that make me feel the same type of passion? Does that make me excited in that way? And a lot of the time it does, and that's like, those are the directions that I go in. But I also figured out, like, so that's what drives me, that's my passion. But who I am is still the same person I've always been. I'm just a kid from Minnesota, you know, I'm a Flatlander. Sometimes I talk in a funny accent after a few cocktails.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's bad.
I want to see that.
No, you
Yeah,
don't.
no, I do.
No, you don't.
Is that it? A little bit? Right there. I do. I'm in.
It's bad.
It's
yeah,
a good
I sound
time.
like Fargo.
No, it's a good time.
No, it's really not. We enunciate our vowels really badly. That's something that I've really worked hard to suppress. But with a couple of tequilas, I'm in rare form.
I love that for you.
You say that now, but yeah, I'm just the same. I'm just a kid from Minnesota who, you know, loves pushing the limits and pushing herself, and it's pretty simple.
You've had to figure out new ways to push yourself, I guess, right? That's the trick. Is that the trick? Yeah.
Because like, it's not who I am, but it's also like what gives me joy.
Yeah, but is there also a thing about, like, I think about this with athletes or anybody who's achieved greatness in an area or in some part of your life. It's like, how do you not always chase a level of greatness at that?
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
you
hard.
know, it's how, like, so I want to try to chase a different type of greatness. Am I going to be the greatest movie maker of all time?
Probably not.
Or the greatest television maker?
I don't know. You never know. Kobe got an Oscar. I was
did.
there. It's possible.
Were you at the Oscars?
Yeah, I was there.
I
when
was
he
at the
won.
Oscars that year
Really?
too. My good friend Mary J. Blige got nominated for an award.
Yeah.
And so I went that year.
Wow, we
We
were
were
there.
there.
We were there together.
This was all.
It was all meant to be.
It's all meant to be.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
I was with Rolex, and I was like, you know,
Oh,
that sounded really snooty.
lights. That was
like-
amazing. I was with Rolex. I was just with
Rolex.
Aronde, and I was with my friends.
Me and my sister, it was a dress-up day, and it was.
That's
I've always really
amazing.
wanted to go.
Did you see
and,
Kobe? Did you know Kobe?
I met him at the London Olympics,
Mm.
and you know, I've been I'm always a fan of sports. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love sports in all its forms. So I know a lot of athletes, and definitely was always inspired by his work ethic.
Mm-hmm. And then you were there, and you saw him win an Oscar.
And I saw him like, Kobe just won an Oscar. So, you know,
It could
again,
happen.
it's not possible.
You're really shooting
chasing
for the stars.
greatness. I
You're
definitely
really-
shoot for the stars. Like nothing is impossible. And guess what? I'm either gonna win an Oscar or I'm gonna fall flat on my face, and I'm totally fine with either.
I was gonna say, can you be happy if you don't be the greatest at something else? Like, would you be happy with just the striving for?
Yeah, I want to strive to be to do the best that I can
Right.
do.
Do you like the
right?
striving for it, or
I
is
think
it the
it's-
actual greatness?
No, I think it's the journey as well.
Okay.
Like it is the process. I mean, I don't just love winning. Like I actually really like working hard. Like I'm again maybe like a couple screws loose, but I like the journey of working hard. You know, even though I fall, like I like that I get back up and I keep going. Like, you know, that's just something that it fuels me. Like it gives me more drive and motivation. So, you know, maybe I won't win the Oscar the first time. Maybe I'll win it the second time.
You believe.
But I believe, like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I've been working on a movie with Robert Redford for a long time now. I don't know if
We
it ever
talked
will
about this the
happen.
night I met you.
Yeah,
You
I
see
don't
how
know.
full circle all of this is happening?
I
That
know,
movie's
so
going to
full
be
circle.
great. I know that for you. We
I'm
talked
like-
about it that night. I believed in it, and I had just met you. I didn't even know you were a
I've been
world-class
manifesting
skier.
that shit for a long time.
It's coming.
So
Remember I told you I was doing a script?
Yeah. You
I
told
had
me.
just started
Yeah.
that. I just finished it. There's something in the universe is happening here.
Something's gonna happen. We should do something together, maybe.
Well, maybe we'll be at the Oscars the same year.
We should be.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
We have to do another podcast. We win the Oscar.
If that happens, we are going to regroup right here
Regroup.
and talk about the journey of that
Yeah.
and how we made greatness again.
Exactly.
I love that for us.
I like that for
By the
us.
way, I'm putting it out. Are you like somebody who, what is that called?
Manifest.
Manifest, yes.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But it's not just manifesting, it's working hard. Like that's the key thing that I think a lot of people miss. Like
Yeah.
you manifest it, but you
Do the
work
work.
hard
Yeah, do
to
the
get
work.
there. But I do believe that if you put it in the world and you strive for it, it will happen eventually. It might take me a long time.
That's okay.
I'll
though.
get there.
But you like the journey, so it's
I like the
okay.
journey, yeah.
You have to love the
It
journey.
could be a long journey. We could be at the Oscars in 10 years, in 5 years, in 1 year. Probably not. But,
Yeah, but that's a thing
That's
that
a
people
thing.
miss. It's the journey. It's like everybody sees the highlight reel and everybody sees, and they're like, oh, I want to be like her. Oh, I want that thing that they have. But do you love the actual thing that it took her to get there?
Yeah.
Because you have to love your journey. Otherwise, what the hell is the point?
Yeah.
Because the wins are just tent poles. It's not your life. Your life is actually the journey.
Well, if you think about it, I worked my whole life to win an Olympic gold medal. And a downhill race was only 1 minute and 54 seconds. So you have to love the journey.
Otherwise, you're only happy for 1 minute and 54 seconds of your whole life.
That'd be a pretty...
That would be so sad.
that'd be short-lived, yeah.
That would be
really
sad.
sad. Yeah, but most people, I think, aren't willing to put in the sacrifices that it takes to reach your goals.
Yeah.
It's like you can manifest it, but like there are so many sacrifices that no one sees that, you make every day that are what get you to where you want to go. And I've seen so many people in my life that were more talented than I was, that just, they thought they're going to make it, they manifested it, they didn't work hard. Like you have to put in the time.
Or they work hard, but they don't believe that they can actually do it, or they let fear get in the way, or they let outside noise get in the way, or all of those things also can
True.
get in your way.
There's a lot of things that can get in your way.
It's a lot of things.
Mostly yourself.
That's pretty good and definitely true. I just interviewed recently Ryan Coogler.
Oh, really?
And we should just talk about filmmakers since we're both going to be
Both going to win an
Academy
Oscar,
Award.
yeah.
We just talk about filmmaking. But one of the things he talked about is his work addiction. And it's like he realized that about himself because he was going through a time in his life where he was dealing with some personal issues, and instead of dealing with them, he was like buried in work, and he was like, oh shoot, this is a problem. I should be dealing with this, and instead I'm making calls and I'm working because it's his work addiction, right? And he had to learn how to balance it. I was like, but you love it, so what's the problem?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, but also you could lose the things that are most important to you if you are not aware of that.
Yeah.
For me, I probably needed to hear that somewhat, and I had worked on that, trying that work-life balance thing. But I wonder for you, it's like you are just a machine. Even now, you're like talking about the next phase, and I'm gonna. Like,
it is a problem for me.
Yeah, like how do you
balance is a problem?
Do you shut off? Do you find or no, never?
I mean, I think I need to prioritize time with my family and just being home and decompressing and making sure that, I don't always work all the time. And, I don't have a lot of friends, and the friends I do have, they understand me and that I'm crazy about what I do, and they accept that, they accept who I am. But it's hard to, deal with me because I'm always driven, and I do think it's important to have balance. I just don't always find it, and I have to just balance myself out because I just have a tendency to go and never stop. And if you keep going, you lose the people that are around you.
Yeah, that's why I asked that, because when he said that, I was like, yeah, because you lose what's most important if you don't adjust.
Yeah.
And I wondered that for you. It must be interesting. Do you have your friends are from childhood?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, what kind of friends? How do you manage friendships or relationships or anything when you're like this all the time?
So I have 3 really good friends, and we've all known each other since we were 7.
So they get you. They know you. They're like,
They know
she's
me.
out. She's being Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
didn't
grew
come
up
to
skiing together.
She
in
didn't show up at the
Minnesota.
birthday party, and
No.
she didn't call me
Yeah.
back. And
I'm the first one to admit, I'm horrible with birthdays. I'm just not. My friend also and her mother have the same birthday as me, and I'm still bad at it.
That's really bad.
I know. But she accepts me for who I am. But
she knows your heart.
She knows my heart. We've been through a lot, and we don't see each other very often. But we're on the same page. It's as if we, whenever we see each other, it's as if no time has ever passed. And then my best friend, I met her about 15 years ago. Got set up on a friend date. And
a friend date?
Yeah, have you ever?
I had never heard of her.
I know, I
didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, because she's an esthetician, and she was good friends with one of our physical therapists, and my physical therapist was like, you don't have any friends. I'm like, okay, we don't need to point that out or tell anybody about it. she's like, you know what? You would be really good friends with Vanessa. Like, we're going to go on a friend date. And she literally went to a concert. She introduced us and left.
No.
Yeah, fully left.
Here's a
We're
friend.
like,
Here's a friend for
yeah,
you,
here's
Lindsay.
a friend for you. Good luck.
And why did she think she was a good friend? Why
We're
did she
very
thi-
similar. We're so similar. She's so driven. She has 2 amazing kids, and she's just like super mom. But we're like instantaneous friends. That's never happened to me before.
That's interesting because you entered the friendship with intention.
Yeah, definitely intention.
Yeah.
But she like had no clue about skiing. Like honestly, no clue.
Yeah.
She was at my final race of my career. She brought her 2 kids all the way to Sweden and her amazing husband. So they're just amazing people. And I think it's important to find people that understand you, that support you, and like you can rely on them no matter what, which is really hard to find these days. I mean, I just don't meet a lot of people. You know, it's not like, how do I meet somebody? Like, how am I gonna meet a friend? Like, I mean, we met randomly.
And you didn't know me, I didn't know you.
Exactly.
We were like, oh my God, my back, oh my hip, oh my leg. You had just had something going on, I had just had a surgery. I was like, I like her so much.
Yes.
By the way, we were in a sea of but there was a bunch of people there.
A bunch of people.
There were people from my world that knew me very well. I'm sure there was people that knew you very well.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, and then we just keep
And then I broke my back, and then I broke my knee. We should be besties.
We should totally be besties. I'm mad we didn't stay more in touch. We will now.
Now we will.
Now we will. But it was also we have to get ready to go to the
Oscars.
awards together.
I know, it's true.
So we should plan like what we're gonna wear and stuff like that. So I'm very excited about that day. That'll be our
like
it
coming
should
out
be like
party,
our
yeah.
friend date. Like
No, like leave them behind, our men behind, and we'll
Yes.
go together.
I would love that for us. And by the way, if that were to actually happen, we have to go to.
It's already set
It
in
would
stone.
be disrespectful if we did
Yeah,
it. at
we've
this
manifested
point.
it. It's
If we did it, it
happening.
would be
Yeah.
so crazy. But I love this for people. It's another, because we always talk about like speed dating with men. It's always about like man, woman, or just not even just man, woman, but romantic relationship. We talk about dating or meeting or approaching them with intention and all of that. But you actually, you can do that with just friendships.
Yeah, I mean,
I never really heard that.
and it's also, I think, really important with women. I don't really feel that supported by women all the time.
Really?
Yeah, especially in my skiing career. I mean, a lot of it's to do because we're competing against each other. But, you know, even with other athletes, I never really felt like they wanted me to do well. There was always an underlying, well, you know, I hope you do well to an extent.
It's not better than me.
So it's like, you know, I think it's important to support each other. And, you know, I think our success is, you know, like my individual success is everyone's success. And we, you know, if we help each other, we'll all become better.
That's so good. But the one thing I did want to talk about, and you're honest about it, like in the doc, I see you talk about depression and dealing with that, especially during times of change where you have to walk away from something you've been doing your whole life, this fear of that. I don't know, what have you learned about that, and how do you get yourself out of that? Because you can talk about getting yourself up from an injury on the slopes, but getting yourself up from depression or from whatever emotional, you know, toughness. How do you?
I mean, I've been dealing with depression since I was a teenager.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's been, you know, skiing can be, it's like you're surrounded by people, but it's so isolating at the same time. And I didn't really know how to manage it. And, you know, it wasn't like now where everyone talks about depression and, you know.
It's like, okay, it's like no big deal. I could ask you that casually.
But at the time it was like, you know, never show signs of weakness. Like, and I definitely felt as though, you know, it was weakness. And so how I dealt with it was I journaled. You know, I talked to, as if it was like, you know, like I didn't pretend it was a therapist, but I need to, in some format, you know, talk about my emotions. And, you know, I was a teenager, like my parents were getting divorced, I was living on my own, and I just didn't know how to deal with everything, and being isolated and not having a support system was really hard for me. And it kind of ebbed and flowed throughout my career. And
did you always write? You always did a journal? Well,
I always have. Since I was probably 9, but, you know, really leaned heavy into it when I needed it most.
Do you still have your 9-year-old
I do.
journals?
It's like Mickey Mouse.
Oh
yeah.
my God! What was her thing? Like, what was she going through? What did she?
It was like I didn't have very many friends, and I was also when I was 9, I was traveling to Europe, you know, and I was traveling with kids that were 13 to 21, and I'm 9. So I'm like, no one thinks I'm
Are
cool.
you writing Dear
like,
Diary?
Yes. Yeah, that was a Dear Diary moment. And I would like sign it like, love me.
At least it was love. You were
Yeah,
you were
true.
learning to love on yourself.
I was trying. But it was like, for lack of support, that was my only outlet. And, I think now there are so many more resources for athletes, for, kids, for, anyone. And I think probably the hardest time for me was when I retired and to some extent I used skiing as a crutch, as a way to mitigate my emotions. And I I kind of locked everything up and use it as fuel to race. And when that outlet is no longer there, you're stuck with all of these internal emotions that need to go someplace. So I started working with Dr. Mondo. He works with a lot of athletes and he's been awesome. He does this thing called the cheat code, and he's just, it definitely made me think of life differently. When I said, talking about what do I feel when I ski that, makes me love it so much. Those are the things I focus on with him. But I think, just being honest with yourself and having a support system of people that, don't judge you, and, whether that's a therapist or your family, I think everyone needs an outlet.
Yes.
To find that balance.
Yes.
And that's an ongoing struggle. Like, I think that's just life.
Yeah. Was there any one thing that you can tell yourself that because I always feel like when you're down, it's like if you just like sit in the darkness of like whatever moment that is, like for me, and I've talked about this before, like for me, the little trick I have is like remind myself that this is temporary. You just haven't figured it out yet. You're gonna figure it out, and then you'll get out of it. So this sucks right here, but it's temporary. Like for me, that's a trick. That's for my own trick, for my own self.
Yeah.
This is why I don't sit in it, because I think to myself, if I didn't have that, how far could that rabbit hole go?
It can go far, yeah.
And if I think about somebody who maybe doesn't have that, and
Yeah.
you think, especially somebody young,
Yeah.
oh my God, I never, this is gonna be so bad forever. You could just go into a thing. So for me, that little thing helps a lot.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you had anything that you tell yourself that lifts you up or gets you out, or.
No, I mean, I think like when I really, especially when I was skiing, I had this thing where I did a lot of deep breathing, and I would close my eyes and be like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Like just sometimes, when I lacked the self-belief, I would just have to take a moment and like internally believe in myself, and then externally like let it out.
Yeah.
And it helped.
I can do this.
I can do it.
And believing yourself.
Yeah. Even when it's hard.
That's
like,
pretty
you
good.
have to, because if you don't believe in yourself, then who's going to?
In real life, when are you at your happiest?
With my dogs on the sofa watching Law & Order and with Ben & Jerry's.
That sounds.
Not specific or anything.
We really could be friends, because that sounds like the best time ever.
What flavor?
Hey, what is your flavor? In case Ben & Jerry's watching and they want to send you a lifetime supply.
Trust me, they do send me supplies
They do?
at times. They have dog ice cream as well. I love that.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Let's get that for
Half-Baked
Uzi.
is my favorite.
My
yeah.
dog is Uzi, and he would love that.
Yep, I love Ben & Jerry's. We can do a, fantastic, whatever we want to do, it's possible. I've been manifesting that for a long time. It hasn't happened yet, so.
What is your favorite?
Half-Baked.
Half-Baked. That's a good one.
It's a classic.
Classic. In real life, what's the best decision you ever made? In your real life, most recent best decision.
Most recent best decision, I went on a dinner date with my sister and a business partner, and he brought along a friend, and it was one of the best decisions, like low-key, like last minute. It's amazing. You probably have to know more context, but I'm not going to get into it. But it was great.
Did you meet like the love of your life in that dinner or something, or was
this is my space.
Oh, okay. I'm invading your space.
Yep.
Sorry,
But
we don't
it was
like
a great
that.
decision.
We don't like that.
No.
Okay. In real life, what do you like most about yourself?
I guess it's what I love and hate is my relentless determination. It's gotten me to great places. It's also put me in a lot of bad places.
Yeah.
Love, hate.
In real life, what do you hope people learn from your life? Like, what is the takeaway from your life that you would hope that people?
You can always get back up. No matter what obstacle we face in life, you can always get back up. You can do it. Just put one foot in front of the other, slowly, and you'll get there.
That's a great one. I mean, come on for Lindsey Vonn.
Everybody, Lindsey Vonn.
That's great.
Thank you.
That That was a good addition.
You never tried race car driving? You had to. Somebody
did.
put you in the
Oh
car.
my God! See that really?
Why you said it
gives
like
me
that?
So
Like,
much
I did.
fear.
I really
Lindsay. I have
wanted
too much
to be.
fear.
To be nice.
I'm disappointed.
You're
that
going
it
to be
didn't
my
happen.
friend that teaches me not to be afraid of stuff. Because
I will do that. If you want encouragement, I will fucking encourage you.
I need a friend like
I
that.
will- you
No, I
got
need
this.
it because I'm like fearless in what I do, but I'm not fearless physically. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, let's hit the gym. Let's do it.
Oh my God, that even hurt when she did that. Hurt my arm.
Good massage.